Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft 2 England cast. Today guys, got a ladder game. It is between Dignitas's dTefel and, well, dTefel is the red Zerg player in the top left position. He's up against mTLpal, the blue Protoss player in the lower right. The map is a Hana and, well, it is game 1 of 1. Because it's a ladder game, obviously. And, of course, if you want to see more of dTefel, then do, of course, make sure you check out Dignitas Week. It's a playlist on my channel, and I look at all of the Dignitas players one a day, and dTefel sent me some awesome replays, and he did an awesome interview as well, so you should check all of those out, and, yeah, do that after this game. It'd be awesome. And also make sure you like this video and subscribe as well, because I get new games up daily. And the likes and stuff, I know some of you, for anyone who doesn't know, the reason content producers such as myself ask you to like videos and things isn't because we're egotistical madmen. That's just the case with me and some others, but it's also due to the fact that the more likes a video gets, the more comments and things like that, the more people who see it and get to see the content we spend hours and hours making. So don't just do it for my videos. If you watch something on YouTube that someone's clearly put a lot of time and effort into making, give it a like if they've done a good job, leave them a cool comment, and just help them out. Yeah, so do your good deed for the day. Anyway, what else can we say? Let's talk a little bit about strategy. dTefel should go for 14 or 15 pull. There we go, 14 pull straight away. Pal on the low ground, probably going to be either, well, it'll be a Forge first or Nexus first now, not a Gateway expansion, which we've seen lots of Protoss players switch to in the recent metagame. But whether it's going to be a Forge or Nexus, definitely a Nexus now, just due to the amount of minerals he's got banked up. He wouldn't make that much of a mistake at this level. dTefel is happily now, well, droning. Should start his natural expansion fairly soon. He's up to 200 minerals. There we go. It's on its way down. That is all looking good. Third base, after the next first, should aim for around the 4-minute mark. I can't remember off the top of my head whether dTefel usually goes for 4 minutes or 4 minutes 20, but generally it depends on how many Zerglings you get out. You can get it close to 4 minutes if you skip all Zerglings, but if you get 2 out, it goes to more about 4 minutes 20-ish, and if you get 4 Zerglings out, then it's a bit later, etc. But so far, Forge coming down, Overlord's there, sees the Nexus, sees the Forge timing, knows exactly what's going down, no gas yet, won't see that for either player for a while. There's a natural base for dTefel, who's getting up his first gas as I... Luckily just going for an extractor trick. I was just going to be there and say, there's no gas for either player for a while. Then I saw that go down, and before I checked the supply, I was like, oh, it's an extractor trick, or maybe he's just trying to make me look silly. 2 single Zerglings on their way down. I really struggle to say that, I don't know why. But 2 Zerglings are on their way down. We're coming across. They are just really there for defensive position. First to gas up now for the Protoss player. The Zerg player won't generally get gas down until roughly 40 to 50 supply. Reason being, you just want to drone as heavily as you can, get the Queens down, get the third base sorted ASAP. The probe coming up here. The Zergling's going the wrong way though, so unfortunately they're not going to spot this probe, and the third base may get delayed as a result. It is on its way down now. We're at 4 minutes 20 already. That probe doesn't want to do too much, but again, if it is able to block things, which it now won't, it's clearly on its own little mission, it does mean that it delays the third base and puts the Zerg in an awkward position. But dTefel should get down his expansion fairly soon. We're already at 4:45, so you don't want to delay it too much. He's got the money for it, so there we go. 4:45 is a bit later than you see quite a few players do it, but there's pros and cons to both. Anywhere between 4 and 5 minutes is absolutely fine against this sort of strategy. The 2 gas happily mining away now, the Cybercore coming down as well. dTefel droning really heavily, 27 apiece. For obviously the early game, you tend to see the Protoss player with a higher worker count, just due to the fact they can chrono boost them out ASAP, and injects aren't flowing fluidly for Zerg players at that point. But once the third base comes up, that's when you really start to see Zerg players ramp it to the max, and suddenly the drone counts spiral out of control and the income skyrockets. So yeah, in terms of strategy, not much being revealed yet. Just that the Cybercore's down. The +1 coming as well. Of course, Hana is a good map to do an Immortal Century all-in on. It's a good map to do most 2-base all-ins on, just due to the fact that you're pretty safe here. It also, the third base isn't impossible to take. You wall off completely, generally knock out the rocks, and then take your third, which is a possibility. So we'll wait and see what Pal decides to do. But dTefel, for the moment, he's got that one Zeta. The Queen's there though. The Queen and the Zerglings will be able to deal with that Zeta quite happily. Good little micro control there by dTefel though, so managing to keep all of that alive. The robotics facility is en route, and of course the robotics facility means one of 2 things. It's a quick tech up, or it's going to be an Immortal Century all-in. We'll wait and see which he chooses to go for. dTefel now getting up his Roach Warren at about 6 minutes 40, which is relatively early for a Roach One. Clearly a little bit concerned about some aggression. No Evo Chamber yet though, that can come a little bit later. The last timing starting as well. dTefel with 3 gas up already. Will probably get his 4th at some point in the future unless he's going for a very specific timing. Meanwhile though, we've got Pal getting up 3 more gateways straight away. The robotics facility nearly finished up, so 4 gates Robo. That should be screaming to everyone here. Immortal Sentry! Immortal Sentry! That's the little warning sound I have playing in my head whenever I'm playing Zerg against Protoss. Is just constantly, isn't an Immortal Sentry all in. Pretty much everything else Protoss throw at me I deal with a breeze, but Immortal Sentry is all in. If you don't prepare correctly at a very, very specific time, you just die. And one of the best strategies for any Zerg players wondering, how do I deal with this Immortal Sentry all in? It's you actually keep a handful of Zerglings in this sort of position. And as soon as it moves out, you start being aggressive. That uses up the sentry energy on the force fields and lets you, even if you can't kill it there, it delays the push by enough that you can start flooding out units, and generally you hold it quite nicely in that situation. Immortal Sentry all-ins only become a real big problem when they're at your front door, because that's when force fields can start blocking your movements heavily and really prevent you getting out the reinforcements you so desperately need. But double evolution chamber is en route. We've got the rocks getting taken down towards the 3rd. The roaches coming forward. We've got that 2 immortal queued up, a lot of sentries queued up, but the rock's getting taken down, so it may not be an all-in. It may instead just actually be a faked immortal sentry where you just expand out of it, which can be very, very good indeed. We don't have any forward pylons down. The Zergling is sitting here, the observer coming through, getting some good information down. The 1-1 upgrades for melee on its way. We do have the infestation pit as well, because of course infestors are good units, everybody. 2 more gateways being added on now, and these 2 additional gateways really say to me that it's almost certainly going to be an expansion into a 3rd, because generally speaking, you won't see those additional gateways if you're just going for an Immortal Sentry all-in, because you're ready to push now, and you need absolutely maximum production. But, well, gateway comes down, the pylon comes down, the Nexus comes down, 3rd base is there, 4th base for dTefel already down though, and he didn't see the rocket come out, so just taking that 4th base anyway. He's got a good number of units all about, and is now just chilling, pretty much. He's got a good drone count, he's up at 66, he'll probably get about another wave of drones out, unless of course he's going for some aggression, which it looks like he's doing at the moment with quite a few Zerglings and quite a few Roaches as well. Perhaps just going to come and pick off this base, which all in all wouldn't be a bad move, because there's not that much there to defend it. A handful of sentries and 2 immortals. The 3rd immortal is on its way out, the 2 additional gateways coming down as well, but in come all of the Zerglings. There is a good number of them, and if Pal isn't, ooh, I was going to say if he isn't prepared for it, it's going to do a lot of damage, but dTefel clearly just deciding today is not a good day to do that. I'm just going to pull back. The photon cannons coming down as well, keeping that 3rd base a bit more comfortable, a bit better defended. The 4th base up and running nicely. dTefel on 6 gas already, taking his 7th and 8th now, getting up his Spire. Somewhere the Spire, there it is, so the Spire coming down. Hive not started yet. I expect to see the Hive fairly soon, to be honest, because generally speaking you'll get it around the 12-minute mark. There we go. Hive coming down, so it's a quick tech up by dTefel, and the reason he can afford to do that, and you might be thinking 12 minutes, that seems a bit early for a Hive. It's early for a Hive in a general situation, but when you've seen this 3rd base, you know your opponent is not going to be being aggressive for quite a long period of time, and as a result you can afford to tech up and get Broodlords out, which you're going to have if you're going to deal with the late game army compositions of a Protoss player. Now, in we go with these Zerglings already. They're being quite aggressive. We've got more units coming across. The upgrade-wise, we're looking at 1-1 upgrades. Some infestors there, though. Fungal growth hits. That, of course, getting very, very potent. Chain fungals on those zealots are going to help massively, because the Zerglings make up the majority of this force, and if the zealots are down, then of course they are going to suddenly have a lot less fun in dealing with them. More stalkers are warping in. Upgrade wise, we don't have blink for a start. That means those stalkers are really going to struggle against speedlings. Hive 3/4 done. The Spire already finished. Corruptors on their way out. 2/2 upgrades on their way out. Quick teching up to Broodlords. Very, very nice by dTefel right now, who is sitting comfortably at 73 drones, getting 2 more out. That'll take him up to 75. Pretty much the critical match you'll always want. And all in all, I'd say dTefel is in a very, very comfortable position. And well, with the couple of Corruptors out, he's going to be able to deal with any Colossi that hit incredibly well. But of course, the Colossi count really pretty low. We're only here with 2 Colossi, so not a great number. Extended Thermal Lance still not finished. dTefel really a long way ahead, in my opinion, just in terms of the tech and also his, well, work accounts. Still quite comfortable. The 3rd base is a bit of an issue. dTefel really gearing up for aggression, though, as opposed to trying to out-macro his opponent at this stage. He just wants to get the Broodlords out. and go and kill his opponent. He's keeping the map dominance as well. If we look at this difference, look at all the map vision that dTefel has available to him compared to that of Pal. Pal has got to start moving out at some point. You can sit back for a relatively long amount of time, but your concern is always going to be, what if those Brood Lords come out? Stargate is on its way. The plus 3-2 upgrades, or 3-3 upgrades rather, on the way for Protoss. That's compared to the 2-2 about to kick in, but still the aggression coming forward. A good little blink there, allowing those Stalkers to try and get underneath the Corruptors and pick them up, but one Colossus does fall. And all in all, I'd say that was a pretty worthwhile engagement, picking up one Colossus for a couple of units, but Pal pushing forward now. Those Corruptors chasing down the Colossus ASAP really, and they do manage to snipe it. That is a good little win there, but so many Corruptors are potentially going to die here because of the Stalkers, and that isn't so good for dTefel. But Force Fields coming down, more Zerglings are streaming through, they're trying to do some damage. These two Corruptors pulling back a good number of units here though. The Greater Spire is finished. That is very, very important indeed, because that of course means Broodlords can come in. These two Corruptors could become Broodlords. There we go. That was all looking good, but Pal now taking his 4th base and is adapting to, or rather adopting a very, very passive style throughout this game. He hasn't been the aggressor at any point, always just comfortable sitting back, macroing up, which you see a lot of Protoss players very, very careful about doing and preferring to be the aggressor in this matchup just due to Broodlord Infestor being so strong. But as we can see, dTefel getting his first Broodlords up already. The fleet beacon is about to finish. That means of course the mothership can start, so Pal really getting the late game composition that he needs in order to deal with Broodlords. He needs to get up a handful of Archons though at some point. That's the one thing I'd say is missing. He doesn't even have, as far as I'm aware, a Dark Shrine or the Templar Archives. I'm just looking. Definitely can't see any. The Twilight Council is there, but still, Zerglings moving back. Roaches are there. The 4th base nearly up and running. So many cannons coming down right now for the Protoss players. So, cannoning up the 4th, making sure it's defended from Zergling run-bys. Power taking up the Zergling scouting in that position. dTefel, in terms of the work count, 87 to 72, so definitely has enough workers. Starting to build this spine crawler wall, which is oh so essential. This single observer getting some really nice scouting information down. The Zergling streaming in, of course, 3-3, or plus 3 weapons on its way down. The plus 1 missile attack on its way down. So, all in all, this Zerg player is really looking to be aggressive. Picks off a handful of cannons, poking, prodding everywhere. dTefel, all through this game, has been holding the map and really holding up his aggression, just to try and force Power to make some mistakes or some bad engagements. But of course that's costing dTefel. He is sitting there at 7,200 resources lost compared to the 3,300 lost of Power, which does put him quite a way behind in terms of resources lost, but the income should be slightly better for him, as we can see here. Not by much, but enough to mean that he can afford to throw away some Zerglings, especially when you're going for this late game composition. You don't want too many Zerglings in there. The thing that's really surprising me though is the fact that plus 1 missile attack was done when there is only 3 roaches on the field. So maybe just preparing for a remax on a lot of roaches. That's the only option I could really see as being potentially useful. And dTefel taking the absolute baller move of expanding to your opponent's base. And Ahana's one of those games where, one of those maps rather, where it really is a horizontal split down the middle. It's like, this is my base, and that is your base. But dTefel doesn't want to follow the crowd. He wants to expand around the edge. He wants to be right next to Power's main and do what he can. The Twilight Council coming down. A whole load of gateways. My goodness, the gateways everywhere. 11 more in production. The Templar Archives coming down. So we should see a good number of Archons. The mothership, I'm sure, is down. There we are. So there's the mothership. The Corruptors, no Corruptors rather, the Infestors managed to get a good fun growth out on the Colossi. The Broodlords are able to do a lot of damage here. There's a good number of Infested Terrans as well. And this is a big loss for Powell straight away with losing those Colossi. He's down to just one of them. And this aggression could be really disastrous for Powell because he just doesn't have enough to deal with it right now. He doesn't have the mothership in position, or he does now rather, but he has no Archon. So the Archon toilet is going to do nothing, all in all. The Broodlords are nicely spread. The Infestors have a lot of banked up energy. So many Infested Terrans coming down. But, well, the lack of Overseers may just force dTefel back for the moment, getting 4 more straight away. Putting down some Infested Terrans just to delay the Protoss advance forward. But, yeah, dTefel, he's maxed out. Pal is also maxed out. And all in all, these two are in a pretty even position. The Vortex could win or lose this game right now for the Protoss, but still streams of units coming in. The Corruptors are there. They're going to start focusing down, but what a good Vortex. but is there enough Archons? There is only 3 as far as I can see. They're not going into the Vortex quite yet. One does manage to go in. The second one is going in as well. The third Archon is desperately needed. We've got a whole load of Stalkers coming in as well, and dTefel could be in some problems very quickly. And as you can see, big damage getting done ASAP. So many Broodlords going down, and this could literally cost dTefel the game. As I said, Vortex makes or breaks this late game engagement for either Protoss or the Zerg player, but, well, GG goes down because dTefel knows he can't deal with it. So, guys, it all came down to that stunning last engagement, but, of course, dTefel the aggressor all the way through. What did you think of that game? Leave me a comment, like the video, and I'll catch you tomorrow for yet another new cast. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.